This is the Stack Hard podcast. I'm Kevin. I'm joined by Matt, as usual. And today on the show, we have Tony Hinchcliffe on as a guest. Tony Hinchcliffe is probably one of the most hilarious comedians on the planet. He's got a brand new Netflix special. It's called One Shot. So he's a huge wrestling and mixed martial arts fan, so pretty pumped to have him on.
Oh, of course. I was on the YouTube last night. I was looking up his interview with Joe Rogan.
Were you on the YouTube?
The YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Last night. He was doing he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was talking about how he got a chance to write for WWE, and they wanted to sign him to a 1-year contract. And he could have drove from 45 minutes from New York to Connecticut, but turned the offer down. We could talk more about that on the show. But I'm sure he did watch the Royal Rumble, and he'll be calling any minute, so it should be awesome.
Yeah, I was just chatting with him real quick, and he did watch the Rumble. He seemed pretty pumped about it. Yeah, I know he did get that opportunity to write for WWE, which you'd think is kind of like a dream job, but at the same time, it's kind of like tricky because there's a lot of politics going on there, and we all know who the ultimate writer of WWE is, right? I mean, say what you will, but I think they got it right last night. I think the Royal Rumble really did deliver.
Yeah.
I thought it was probably the best pay-per-view they've had in a long time. Better than any of the pay-per-views they had last year.
I think it beat every single pay-per-view from 2015. That's just in one show.
Yeah.
I think it beat WrestleMania last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every match was good. The 4, regular matches. I mean, the pre-show I'm not counting because I don't know if anyone watches it, but we didn't.
I actually caught the tail end of it.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. From what I saw, though, it was incredible. And having Triple H win again feels like 2002 all over again. So.
Yeah. And I mean, we've got Raw on tonight, and it's going to be...
Oh, wow, look at it. I can see you on the computer.
Yeah, and we have a special guest. My mom is actually...
Yes.
If she would like to shut the door to the Stack Card Studios, we're recording at the moment. So, yeah, that was my mom, everybody. I know you've heard dogs. You've heard yelling outside on New Year's, and now I think you've heard it all. Ambulances.
Sirens.
Now, that's what happens when you live in the city, but
yeah,
man, when your mom comes in, it's always a good appearance,
But yeah, so more on Tony. He's also got a lot going on aside from that brilliant guest appearance there. Should we just start?
Did you talk about the one night Netflix special? Because that was the first time I saw him. One Shot.
Yeah. One Shot is amazing. It's available on Netflix now. I mean,
It went on January 15th, I believe.
Yeah.
They put it up, so. Yeah, I saw some of his roast stuff with Iron Sheik, too, last night. I went through YouTube. I showed Mom. There was a segment like Jews, something.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That's another project that he sort of works on, or at least participates in. It's basically straight up improv comedy. So people in the audience shout topics at him, and he bases his comedy around it. So if people say carrots, you've got to create a joke about carrots on the spot.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, he's pretty good. He's a great roaster, pretty good at improv. I mean, I was listening to him the other day on, I think, Joe Rogan or something, and he was talking about how it would be his dream to play the Joker in a movie.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think he could pull it off.
I think so.
All right. And on that note...
California. He's from the East Coast, no?
California.
Okay, you want to do the pleasure?
Hey, Tony. Welcome to the Stack Card.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?
Pretty good, and you?
Great.
All right, so we were just talking you up a little bit here. We were just mentioning the new special One Shot that's on Netflix. Also, Kill Tony is the podcast on iTunes and available anywhere where podcasts are. I mean, you have so much going on, and thanks for taking the time to come on.
Yeah, of course. When I found out you guys talk a little bit about comedy and pro wrestling and UFC, I figured, what the hell? That's my world. I love that stuff, and those are my 3 favorite things. So
Oh yeah, you definitely can't go wrong there.
You guys have good taste in what you talk about.
Thanks, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
So I'm definitely curious to hear a little bit more about One Shot. It's got rave reviews so far, so I just kind of wanted to, get the feedback that you've had from fans and from the comedy community so far.
Yeah, I'm very, very pumped about it. I'm pretty sure I'm the first comedian to ever debut my stand-up on a 1-hour special. I think old school way to go about it is most people do like a Conan O'Brien set or Tonight Show or Comedy Central Presents little thing here or there. But I'm very, very lucky. Netflix is, as I feel like everyone sort of knows by now, is the place to be. They just have great taste in everything. They're so cool. They give the best notes. They're just the best people to work with. They have the best stuff. I mean, I've been a Netflix-only guy for years. I haven't had cable. Even the Comedy Central shows that I've written on and things like that, I never actually watched on my own TV. I've been a Netflix guy the whole time, and I wanted to make a special that was designed around them and this new media outlet that they have. It's commercial free. So I figured, why not make a 1-hour special that is catered to them? And so I decided to shoot it all in one continuous shot. Now, I mean, something like that probably could have gone to an HBO or something like that, but HBO isn't really interested in taking big chances.
Yeah.
Whereas Netflix, they're so amazing because they do take chances. They will, if they think something's good, they don't give a fuck how many times this person's been on TV or what kind of people it'll draw. They're just all about good content over there. And so I also shot it in one shot to be able to give the viewers for the first time the feeling of an actual live show. Most people probably don't even know this, but any comedy special you've ever seen before has been multiple shows edited together with the comedian wearing the same shirt and jeans that they were wearing for the other shows, and they cut together all the best parts of their shows. Usually they do 4 shows, 2 in one night, 2 in the other. They tape all 4, and then they cut all the best parts together. That's how every special anybody's ever seen has been shot. Nobody's ever shot one in just one continuous show. And I have so much fun doing an hour live when I perform live other places on tour that I figured to myself, things don't really go that bad. I like to improvise if something weird happens, and I roll with anything that happens during a live show. So I figured, let's give it a shot. So I actually produced it myself as well.
Wow.
I hired my director, Ben Wolfenson, and the DP and the audio guy, and I did it all myself. And, it's sort of just an epic little story, in my opinion, about, being able to give people the viewpoint of a real comedy show. So it's all shot in one continuous shot, and there's no cutbacks to audience members laughing and things like that, because I figured, I've never liked that when I see that on specials, cutbacks to audience members laughing. And I don't think anybody sees that at a live show anyway. I mean, who turns around and looks at people laughing when the show's happening right in front of you? So I figured, let's just do this and do something of a different kind. My inspirations, obviously, are Tarantino and Scorsese, and Inarritu did with Birdman.
Sure.
So I figured, let's lock them in and connect hard. And luckily, I had this vision and I was dreaming about it, and it just happened, man. So I just couldn't be more excited that other people think it's as cool as I thought it was. Because as an artist, I'm going through a car wash right now.
So much fun.
No, I want the simple one. Okay, perfect. This is as live as it gets, guys.
So many great options at the car wash. Oh, I love it.
There you go. Thanks. Can I just pull forward? This is a real podcast, guys. Feel that live energy or what?
I know.
Thank you. There we go. Sorry about that.
It's all right. You always got to be really precise when you're going through the car wash. You don't want any accidents to happen there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it. You got to do it raw, just like you did on the comedy special. And I mean, like, I totally know what you mean. I didn't even think about it from that perspective when I watched it, but you really do feel like you're there. I mean, just like the other night, I was watching Whitney Cummings' new special on HBO. And even that one, there's a lot of just shots of the crowd, and I mean, which aren't always the best, especially in the older comedy sets. It really kind of ages the piece, and like yours, it just feels very fresh and very modern. So I think it was marvelous, and I think I watched it like twice back to back on the first day it came out. So props.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's definitely the perspective that I wanted to give people. I mean, anybody who needs reaction shots to audience members laughing in order for them to know when to laugh and to think it's funny, I don't need those people to be my fans. I definitely want a smarter crowd, people that appreciate me taking a chance on the art. And the name one shot has like multiple meanings, obviously. You know what I mean? And that's I finally have a shot. I've been being buried in writers' rooms and producing things and Comedy Central roast rooms and things like that, wanting to get on the road. I don't think they ever really, for some reason, these old school network people. You guys hear the car wash? Is that too annoying? Or can you hear me
I
clearly?
can't even hear it. Your phone has a really great speaker system.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm working this mic pretty powerful right now. I needed to figure out a way to establish myself as an on-screen guy. And what better way than being the first comedian to ever just have me be on the screen the entire time. There's not a single second of one shot where I'm not there. You watch me, you see me standing outside, finishing a cigarette, looking at my phone. It follows me in. I do an hour. It follows me back out to the exact same spot. I light up another smoke. I look at my phone. Credits roll. And it's me the whole time. So, if you look at what I did there as a writer, as a comedian that has more of a reputation in Hollywood as a comedy writer, what better way to establish myself as an on-screen person than literally taking up the screen the entire time? Why give an audience member any screen time when, what the fuck did they do? What work have they done in the last 8 years of my career? Nothing. So I'm not going to put some jabroni on my special. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I feel I can use the word jabroni loosely on this podcast, right?
Go for it. I think the audience will dig it up. Yeah, I mean, just like thinking back to this, one shot, like it literally was like you just dropping the microphone on the comic industry on your first big special. So like, I can't wait to see what the second one's gonna be like.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was nervous because I shot this in March 2015, and I was nervous that people were going to find out that I did it this way, you know what I mean, and just shoot and get it done and out before mine. Took a long time, clearly. I mean, I shot it in March, and it's now middle of January.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, I mean, I was sitting on that, having to keep it quiet that it was going to Netflix for so long, and hard secret to keep, you know what I mean? I hinted at it a bit here and there on Twitter and Periscope, but I couldn't announce it, and I'm so lucky that nobody else just did it. You know what I mean? They could have easily have heard that I did that, and if they wanted to, any monster comedian could have gone, I want to shoot my special this way, we got to get it out before they get it out, and, the rest is history. I got lucky, and it got out there, and I'm the one-shot guy, and to be honest with you, I'm definitely going to shoot my next special that way. And probably every special that I do, because I think it makes it special as fuck, and I've set a bar for myself now that I don't want to fall back on any other way. I mean, I could go and do a theater like these other comedians and cut all the best jokes together, but I like it one shot. I think that we're doing something really different and cool, and so I'm looking forward to the second one as well. And another thing that I did that most comedians don't do is they wait until their special comes out, and then they start writing new material then. And like I said, I taped this in March, and I started writing and performing new material immediately. So I'm already halfway to my next 1 hour special, which is very exciting because any comedian will tell you that the newest jokes are always going to be organically the best jokes because you get better, you get stronger, and the writing and performing gets better around your voice. And so, I'm just pumped because we're already halfway to the next one. One shot, two, or two shot, whatever we're going to call it.
2 shots. About how long did it take for you to come up with the set that we ended up seeing in the final special?
Well, that one, since it's my first special, technically one could say that it took me, about 7 years, 7 or 8 years. For the first 1 hour special, like I said, I'm already halfway to my second, but, the first few years that you do stand-up, you're just sort of writing and performing sort of garbage, no matter how good you are, so it's sort of just like a waste. But as far as this one, most of that special was written in the past couple years, but not really. It's sort of like half and half. Some of those jokes, some of them are honestly some of my first jokes. They're just quick, and I grazed through them. But some of them are also newer. It's a weird mishmash when you're putting together your first hour special. Some of the things are brand new, and some of the things aren't. Like I did a Cosby joke on there, and like I said, this was taped in March, so it was before a lot of allegations came out. I think that the number that I'm saying during the special is like 24 women or something like that.
Yeah.
And now we're up to like 45 or something. So
it's crazy.
Sort of dated itself.
I've actually gone around. I've told people about the whole Cosby Michael Jackson thing. I thought it was hilarious because, believe it or not, for me that was the first stand-up comedy show I've sat through the whole thing. I've just never been into. I like making people laugh, and I like laughing, of course. But when it comes to comedy, I feel like people, sometimes when you watch it on those specials, I feel like they're looking for that reaction. They're not just going out there naturally doing the show and getting a reaction. And I think what you did was you got the reaction because you weren't there, you weren't trying for it. You're just like, okay, I'm going out here, I'm going to do a show, and I'm going to make, people are going to laugh. You got the reaction. You didn't try to make one. So
it's true.
It wasn't forced.
I refined those jokes over such a long period of time that I just floated it out there. I believed in myself. You're right. I'm definitely not like trying. I feel like I don't like to give off that energy at all, and that's sort of part of the magic trick behind stand-up comedy. Is the more you look like you're trying, and the more you look like it's rehearsed, the less funny it's going to be naturally. So.
Of course. Yeah, like we actually saw a McFoley one a few months ago. I don't know. You probably know that he does stand-up now.
Who?
McFoley?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I actually worked with Mick. I did some gigs that I opened up for him when he was around town. And he's fucking awesome. And he's actually so good. I've worked with him, and I've worked with Rowdy Piper.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, I helped Rowdy Piper actually write his hour-long set that he did in Europe. Roddy and I actually, he's one of my greatest mentors of all time. He came to the Comedy Store. He swung around just to hang or something a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and he absolutely taught me tricks and things about show business and life that completely changed the game for me. When I met Rowdy Piper, I was broke and depressed and a lot of other negative things, and this fucking guy taught me so many little things and big things about life and about show business that just completely changed everything for me. He's one of the greatest human beings of all time, not just as a wrestler, which he is. And I also think that it's cool as fuck that it was him, because obviously he's one of the best bad guys of all time.
Yeah.
And he changed the way bad guys are perceived forever. And I think every bad guy would probably admit that, except for maybe, a Kevin Nash or something like that, some kind of egomaniac. But, I mean, Piper changed the fucking game for me. In fact, one time, I'll tell you a story. One time, I was, and this is again, 5 years ago, but I'm sitting on an air mattress that I was sleeping on at the time in a friend's living room. And this is, it's a struggle, guys. You hear the stories about Jim Carrey sleeping in his car and this and that, and it's all true. You know what I mean? It's a very, very hard art form. But you don't really care where you're sleeping and what life is like when you love the art that you're doing. It's a old Mitzi Shore thing, the owner of the Comedy Store, who's bred the careers of so many great comedians. Mm-hmm. She said, comedians and artists, they don't care about what they have. They just care about what they do. However, about 5 years ago, I was so fucking depressed. I remember being literally out of all money. I remember I had already cashed in my change at the Coinstar machine, and I was done and broke, and I had given up one day. And I had made friends with Piper a couple months before. We had hung out a few times, and he'd given me some great wisdom and this and that. And I had given up. It was a rainy, dark day in Los Angeles, and my air mattress had a little hole in it, and it started deflating. And I'm laying on it, and I'm just giving up. For the first time and only time ever in my life, this is a true story, I said, fuck it. I'm out of money. I'm just going to lay here and not eat, and I'm done. Wow. I remember thinking that to myself on this dark, rainy day, and I get, out of all the random things, the text message from Rowdy Roddy Piper literally says, he goes, "Hey buddy, how about I buy you some dinner?"
Wow.
And I said, yes, of course, because I was starving, and of course, who the fuck wouldn't have dinner anyways with Rowdy Roddy Piper? But it's almost like he fucking knew what was happening. And I told him, I was honest with him at that dinner. I go, I'm more depressed than I've ever been. Things aren't working out. I'm not being taken seriously as a comedian. And over that dinner, he gave me lessons that literally I live by day to day, that changed the game for me immediately. I remember the next day, and I know it sounds like hippie-ish and whatever, but it has a lot to do with just the energies that you put out, and you have to believe and this and that. And the next day, I got a gig that got me money, that sustained me all the way up until, basically now. And that's a true story about the real Roddy Piper. And when he passed away this past year, it was a devastating blow to me. We were literally supposed to hang out the night after he passed away. He was going to come to the Comedy Store and hang with all of us. And it was a devastating blow. But it goes to show you how, the two worlds of stand-up comedy and professional wrestling are probably the two closest jobs to each other. I mean, we travel regularly every single week on an airplane to hotels, to airports, to this, and then we do it again. We perform every single night. Sometimes you try new stuff, but you also have to hit them with your established, finishing moves, if you will. Mm-hmm. You have cool entrances. You have to keep an eye on your appearance, and you just have to stay creative and do things with your own voice. I don't think professional wrestling's ever been better than it was back in the Attitude Era, when Vince was letting these guys write their own characters and really take chances and things like that. And that's what stand-up comedy is like. So comedians in pro wrestling, there's a fucking huge, huge crossover there. Pretty much every comedian wants to be a stand-up, and pretty much every stand-up wants to be pretty much every pro wrestler wants to be a stand-up, and every stand-up wants to be a pro wrestler. We just don't have the bodies for it.
Yeah, it seems like the other one who's really trying to get a crossover is Dolph Ziggler. I know in his Twitter bio he says that he's a comedian, but he wrestles to pay the bills, which is just a great line. Have you ever worked with him at all or met him?
Yep, totally. We spent New Year's Eve together 2 years ago. Cool as fuck. I mean, he's just a bad motherfucker. I absolutely love him. He's one of my favorite wrestlers, and yeah, he's way into stand-up comedy, way, way, way into it. And I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like on his Twitter bio, he says, you know, he's a comedian. And what's funny is, like, you know, on my Twitter bio, if I didn't have to promote my special and my podcast, I'd probably have up there, you know, wannabe pro wrestler. So, you know, the worlds are just so close, and there's such a crossover.
Totally.
And almost all the best comedians are huge wrestling fans. I mean, speaking of Twitter bios, if you click on Bill Burr on Twitter, his avatar is a picture with him and the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Oh, wow. Did he just change it, or has it always been that?
It's been that for quite a long time.
Okay.
But, like, you know, I mean, it's just insane. All the best comedians are into, or have been at least at one point in their lives, into pro wrestling.
Yeah. Well, I think except for one of them, and I know I showed Matt the video the other day, but it was a video of you on the Joe Rogan Experience, and we got to do something with Joe. We need to get him into wrestling somehow. I mean, he loves UFC.
He's so funny. He's so funny with that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just like, that is the most epically funny thing I think I've ever been part of, is trying to, when I was messing with him, trying to turn him into a pro wrestling fan. There's something there where he's missing the point that we know that it's not a real competition between two men. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many different ways I could have said it or tried to get my point across to him. But what was amazing was the uprising of pro wrestling fans. He still says to this day, he's never, and he gets millions and millions of listeners per episode, he still says to this day he's never gotten more hatred via social media than he did from all the pro wrestlers that made noise about that. His exact wording is, I've never gotten this many misspelled tweets in my life.
Oh, taking another riff at wrestling fans. And the other one, too, was Dana White. I know he was calling out wrestling, maybe in the last few months, basically saying that the matches were staged, and that's why you pay like $60 for a UFC event, and it's $10 a month for the network. So, haters gonna hate, I guess.
Yeah, haters are gonna hate. And you know what? Coming from Dana's perspective, I can't really blame him. I mean, even as an old school pro wrestling fan, if I was the owner of the UFC and in charge of running it, I'd be pretty pissed too that, you know, I mean, if you look at it for what it is, I mean, that's just a tough competitor. You know, Vince McMahon is a fucking guru, and he's been able to keep millions of people watching this circus somehow for decades now. Yeah. And including myself. I mean, me and my buddies, all comedians, I had them all over to my place last night. Me and 10 of the funniest fucking dudes I know. All there, gathered around, eating pizza and veggies and chips, watching the Royal Rumble last night like fucking little kids. and my girlfriend was there, and she was just in awe of our pathetic, of our absolutely pathetic excitement about the entire thing. To the point to where, by the end of it all, she was into it. And, you know, it just happens that quickly. And that's just props to Vince McMahon all the fucking way. Well, Pat Patterson actually created the Royal Rumble, but, you know, Vince has the fucking balls and the nutty fucking edge to just keep it going. And I even said on a podcast with Joe Rogan and Dana White a couple months ago after the Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm fight, we did a podcast flying first class back from Australia. And I told Dana, I go, it's unbelievable what you've been able to do, expanding this business and letting these characters organically be themselves. While you look at a guy like Vince McMahon, and he has roomfuls of writers, you know, producing the stuff that's going to happen. And meanwhile, the UFC is able to stay so much on their heels. With great storylines, just by letting it happen organically. And Dana White deserves all the credit for that. But I called him, you know, I told him straight to his face. In fact, we were in a little pod on an airplane, so we were very close when I looked at him in his eyes and told him, you know, it's very Vince McMahon what you're doing. that he's the only person that could even be compared to you.
That's great.
And Vince is the man. You know, I made a point to say that too.
Yeah.
He really is. I don't know if, I mean, he's up there with like Lorne Michaels and like Johnny Carson. If you really look at how many people he's entertained and the mass amount of loyal viewers that he has, it's sort of fucking insane if you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. That's definitely highly respected territory there. So, I mean, yeah, of course, Dana and Vince have to be the two top promoters going.
You've been watching wrestling your whole life, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, because I know you said, like, wrestling was that big part of your life growing up, you know? It really...
It took the place of being raised by a single mom. It took the place of my dad. I mean, I remember it was literally one of the first... I remember being super young, like a year old or something, and I remember seeing it on the TV, and I still remember where I was when I saw it, like laying on my back, and I remember seeing these colors and these two guys running back and forth and like throwing each other into ropes. I mean, like I have this like far image, and I remember for a couple of years, I remember when I was learning how to, you know, change the channels on the TV back when you used to have to walk up to it and turn a knob. I remember looking for it at the age of 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, you know what I mean? And then I found it one Saturday morning, and I'm like, oh my God, this is that thing I saw that one time. What the fuck is that? And that is it. I mean, I was just done after that. And I think there's totally a correlation. I keep going back to this stand-up wrestling thing, but so many of my funniest friends have the same story. We remember where we were when Jake the Snake put the snake on the Macho Man's arm. You know, we remember these things. We remember where we were sitting, and or the fucking like little kiddie chair that we were in. You know what I mean? Or the high chair that we were in. You know, it's like crazy how much pro wrestling affects creative people. It's sort of fucking insane. But yeah, it's been a huge part of my life the entire time. I mean, I don't watch it as much as you may think. Me and my buddies get together for like the Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank and WrestleMania and maybe Hell in the Cell. Actually, I went to Hell in the Cell this year. My manager got me tickets, so I went with him.
That's
which
awesome.
was fucking awesome.
Yeah. So what did you think about the Rumble last night? And we both thought it was probably one of the best pay-per-views they had in a while. I mean, what are your thoughts on, you know, Triple H coming out and winning it?
Totally. And there was a period of time during that Royal Rumble with about 5 guys left in which I go, fuck, this sucks. The only way this could be, I go, the only way this could be cool. I go, the only way this could end up cool is if Triple H wins this motherfucking thing. You know, I'm looking at Dean Ambrose, who I just can't fall in love with for the life of me. All my buddies go crazy. He just seems like Stone Cold Light to me. And, you know, Roman Reigns is just am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, Roman Reigns is a pile of hot dog shit. I just want everybody to know that my opinion is very strong on that. And if you're a Roman Reigns fan, then you need to just get with the program. You're obviously like, well, I mean, you have to be 7 years old if you're a Roman Reigns fan. I don't understand how any grown person can get behind such a lack of character and lack of moves. I mean, that Superman punch might be, I mean, that wouldn't even be my 15th move. If I had 100 finishing fucking moves, that would not be one of the 100. And the spear, I mean, come on, even Goldberg used the spear as a secondary maneuver. Have a finishing move, dude.
I mean, Charlotte pretty much put her match away with the spear last night, so.
Hers looks more devastating than Roman's, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm just not into it. And he needs to dry his hair. I mean, what does he have in his hair? How is his hair so wet? I feel like it's just like, I mean, it's just gross.
It's like Mark Henry. When Mark Henry used to come out, you know, during that World's Strongest Man thing, they like dumped a bucket of water on him before his music played. Like, he hasn't even gotten to the ring yet, and he's like sweating profusely.
Well, you would probably sweat profusely if you also weighed 400 pounds.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But I'm just happy that Triple H came out and fucking won it. There's nothing makes me and my buddies laugh more than any time we get to see Vince McMahon. I mean, I could watch Vince McMahon take a dump, and I would be cracking up the entire time. That guy is just so funny, and his face reactions and everything he was doing. I don't know if you guys caught the part. There was a part last night where when they're all celebrating and it's Vince and Triple H and Stephanie in the ring, there was the part where if you watch Vince's feet, he started shuffling his feet back and forth.
Yeah, I caught that.
In excitement. And it's like shit like that makes me and all my buddies. And I mean, like I said, we're fucking comedians. And especially my comedian friends, it's not like comedians from around the country. We are the guys that moved here with nothing to do this shit. So it's like we have a tough sense of humor to crack. Really tough.
Yeah.
But there's something about Vince McMahon and also, who's the other one? Oh, Ric Flair. You know, these guys can pretty much do anything, and we're dying. When Ric Flair wooed in Sasha Banks' face last night before walking out, we were howling. I mean, we jump up on our feet at that shit. We just don't think there's anything funnier than these legends being themselves.
See, yeah, that's how we are with, like, the Big Show, you know? Because we always have that big funny moment how he's a good guy, you know? It's weird. You don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Last week on Raw, he was shaking Kid's hand, you know? But then he came out last night like he had the intention to take out all the face. So it's like, is he good? Is he bad? Or do they just don't know what to do with him? So they let him punch everybody, you know?
Oh, yeah. They have no idea what they're doing with the writing over there. I mean, I think it's getting a little bit better. I like what they're doing with the Wyatts. I'm so into Brock versus Bray that it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I think Bray is absolutely the shit. Bray is a huge reason on why I even still watch it. You know what I mean? Like, I guess we'd get together and watch it anyway, but Bray is always the guy that I'm yelling at the TV about, you know, when, you know, they let John Cena beat him a couple times. It's like, get the fuck out of here. What are they thinking? It just doesn't make sense to me. He's such a cool bad guy, again, and that's always been my favorite. All my favorites forever. Ric Flair, Macho Man, especially NWO Macho Man Randy Savage. When you would just hear the oh yeah, and then the NWO music would come in, the you know, everybody had their own remix of the NWO song back then. I love evil Macho Man.
Yeah, at one point, everybody pretty much was in the NWO at one point anyway, so.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Eric Bischoff really blew that shit. He really had a chance to do something great. He just kept adding on and piling on more and more people. What an enthralling time of wrestling, though. I mean, I've watched every documentary and everything on the internet and the network about that time because that's back when I would be watching. I used to make frozen pierogies every Monday after school. And I'd sit in front of the TV in the living room with a TV tray and these fucking pierogies with onions and cheese or whatever gross shit was on them. And I would be the happiest person in the world. From 8 to 9, I'd watch WCW, and then I'd be flipping back and forth, flashback between Goldberg's match at 9 p.m. and Vince and Stone Cold coming out at 9:01.
That's great.
You know, but those were the days, man. Those were the fucking days.
The cool thing with Bray Wyatt, too, is his character, it seems like he's bigger than just the title. Like, he doesn't want to even really talk about the title. He goes much more beyond that. Kind of like the Undertaker or Kane. Like, they didn't have the title as much as guys like Stone Cold or The Rock because their characters were just beyond that. So that's pretty cool about him.
No, I completely agree with you, and I love that they play it that way. I love that, you know, Triple H pointed to Brock Lesnar yesterday while, you know, signaling to Bray Wyatt. He looks at Bray Wyatt, he points at Brock Lesnar, he says, let's do this, and Bray goes, fuck you. He doesn't take orders. Will not take orders from anybody, and I love that they stick with that. I just wish that they would give him a bump on the technical end of things. He's such a monster. Let him win some matches clean. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
And you know what? I'm going to make a bold statement here, and they'll never do this, but if they were smart, if they were really, really, really smart, which they're not, and they're not going to do, but again, if they were that smart, they would have Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar, and wait for it, they would let Bray win clean.
Ooh.
That'd be nice.
He doesn't need to fall back on these three giants that he has. I love that they use them, and I love that they're part of a little faction.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs them. He's so good at selling not only his bumps in the ring when he's getting beat, but he's so great at if you watch him throw punches, he's better than anybody else. Those noises that he makes, like he makes these crazy noises. And he just sells everything. He's right up there with Ziggler, the top salesman in the WWE right now.
Yeah.
And both of those guys, those are the two that I wish they would fucking do something with. My God, if I could write for Ziggler's wrestling character, goodbye.
Oh, I know. If only we could get writers like you in the WWE, right?
Yeah, I know, man. I know. And, it's one of those things to where, I've had to sit there and I get about a tweet a day or so about please go write for the WWE. And, the truth is I turned down that opportunity in order to do something as cool as I did with One Shot. Had that not happened and gone through and sold to them and things like that, then I probably would have started regretting not taking that job. But we're on the up and up, and I wish I could do two things at once. I made them an offer. My counter offer to them when they told me to move to Stamford, Connecticut was let me write in via email, let me Skype in, let me FaceTime in, but I don't want to move to Stamford, Connecticut for a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. job that is going to drain me of my soul.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't accept that. Meanwhile, I think even on this podcast alone, I told you guys enough good ideas, a couple good ideas to, that we would fucking love to see. That Bray and Brock thing I've been dreaming of for a year now. So, the fact that happened is already sort of, fulfilling a prophecy that I've always loved. Because they need to give Bray the push that he deserves. His character and his mic work is so good, and his in-ring work is so good, but they let him lose to chumps, and that's where they're fucking up with that. And if they let Bray beat Brock clean, what it would do is all of a sudden they'd have a powerful heel that they don't have to pay $5 million per appearance to.
Yeah, just to show up a few times a year, mind you, as well.
Yeah, they let Bray Wyatt win that clean, and all of a sudden, all Brock's power is transferred to him.
Yeah, of course, and that's why I didn't want Brock to win the Rumble, because when he has the title is, for me, the title is the most, covenant prize in the business. That is why everybody is there. I mean, on screen, that's what it should be, It's a competition to win the biggest prize and to be the head, the leader of the company, the face of WWE. When Brock had the title, it just felt like there was so much other talent and nobody really wanted to take that ball and run with it, because Brock would show up and only defend it once. Not even it. There were certain pay-per-views where the U.S. title was the main event. There was no WWE title match, so I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that that's the way that things, work out. I just don't understand really what their overall plan is, But I'm just glad that Triple H is the champ. I think it gives it a new edge. He's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Has been entertaining for so long. I'm really happy with the way that it ended, and I think it's so fucking cool. I honestly forgot Dean Ambrose was in the ring when he eliminated Roman Reigns, so I was fucking fist pumping and up on my feet going crazy. And I go, please don't let this fucking Dean Ambrose pull this crap off.
I was kind of pulling for the Miz at a certain point, believe it or not. Because
say that again?
I was kind of pulling for the Miz at a certain point, because Miz was kind of hanging out, and I was like, Miz is one of the best on the microphone in the business, and he can pull off a solid match, I think, as well. Very underrated. And I knew they were going to do this thing where, okay, let's let Roman go backstage, and I think once you go backstage, you should be automatically done with the Rumble. Like, you shouldn't, because that's not fair. What if a superstar is a heel, fakes an injury, decides to leave, then comes back when there's only 2 people left? Like, oh, hey, look, I feel better now. It's just not fair to the other competitors when you look at it, from that point of view. But also, it's just BS, like, you could see they were trying to make Reigns take that, so.
Yeah, I'm just excited about the future, and I hope that they, figure everything out. And I also hope that they really work on that Divas division. I hope that they, instead of having it be like, basically they've turned it into like strippers that can wrestle. I'd really love to see them get more legitimate with it, take a note from the WWE or from the UFC, and have a powerful girl like, not to say it should be the actual Ronda Rousey, that they should just have a bad bitch that comes in, and just fucking breaks people.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Make it more real and interesting than these, oh, look, there's a little leprechaun girl. Oh, how cute.
They used to do that with, like, Jazz. I don't know if you remember Jazz, Beth Phoenix, Victoria. Those girls, I mean, Victoria had some crazy street fight matches with Trish back in the day.
Actually,
Yeah.
Tony, kind of on that note, and we're kind of running out of time here, so I just wanted to get you out on one last question. I was actually on Twitter the other day, and I saw a picture with yourself and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the strawweight champion in the UFC. So, what was it like meeting her?
Unbelievable. She's my favorite UFC fighter out of all the guys and the girls. I've seen like 3 or 4 of her fights live. Coincidentally, I don't get to pick the ones that I go to with Rogan. I just sort of, it just depends on the right place and time. And since the first fight that I saw her fight, I was just amazed by her output of energy and her striking. And she took on Claudia Gadelha and out jiu-jitsu'd her and out wrestled her. So she's multi-dimensional. And to be honest with you, I was sort of starstruck meeting her, and I've gotten to meet so many great comedians and actors and blah, 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 being out here in Hollywood. But I was amazed and so excited to, meet her. I mean, it was amazing. And she knows about me because I've talked about her on quite a few podcasts about, we have this long-running joke about how I want to marry her and all this stuff. And so, she gets a lot of people on Twitter and Instagram telling her to, marry me and, let's make babies and this and that. So she knew who I was, and I told her to watch my special, and so, yeah, hopefully, who knows what can happen there.
Yeah, you never know. But I mean,
that's great.
Must have been great, being able to meet somebody that, that talented. And I mean, yeah, just watching Joanna fight, it's like watching a real life Tekken character. I mean, she's incredible. So, but just to get you out of here on this, I believe you're doing Kill Tony tonight. Is that right?
Yep.
All right. So
that's it. That's every Monday at 8 p.m. at the Comedy Store live. It sells out every Monday, so you got to get there early. That's always fun. Anytime anybody's in LA, you got to check it out. It's one of the craziest live podcasts in the world.
Yep. And for people that can't attend in person, they can obviously download it as a podcast. And do you have any other dates or projects, tours lined up?
Yeah, I'm doing Caroline's in New York this weekend, February 5th and 6th. I'm doing an entire week in Vancouver at their Just for Laughs, the last week of February. I'm in Webster, New York in March, Chicago's Zanies in March, and Seattle, Washington in March. Doing a Kill Tony live there, and also a weekend headlining. it's all new material that I haven't done on my special. Maybe I'll mix a couple of home runs in there during a live set, but it's mostly new stuff that I'm really proud of and really excited about and working on and stretching out and making bigger and working on my best stuff yet. So I'm pretty pumped.
That's great. Do you think we gotta get you over here to Boston sometime soon, huh?
Say that again?
We gotta get you over to Boston sometime soon, hey?
I'm actually opening for Joe Rogan at the Wilbur Theater April 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So you can kill two birds with one stone. The tickets for that, they might already be sold out because Rogan's a monster. But I will be opening for him live at the Wilbur Theater all of that weekend.
Well, guess what? I'm actually that lucky guy that already purchased my tickets for Joe Rogan, so I'm actually extremely thrilled right now that I'll be seeing you perform too. So
there you go. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
all right, can't wait. So that's Tony Hinchcliffe. Thanks very much for taking some time to talk to us.
Of course. Thank you, and I will talk to you guys soon.
All
Yeah,
right.
we definitely hope to hear from you soon. You know a ton about wrestling. Like you said, it's your life. So to come on in the future, I mean, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you so much, and I will take you up on that without a doubt.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, thanks very much to Tony Hinchcliffe. He is absolutely hilarious, and we're very grateful to get him on the show. And I'm extremely happy that I'll be seeing him come this April. So
You'll be seeing him come this April.
anyway, whatever. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, so now I'm kind of, I mean, since the F word was said a lot and the S
What
word.
do you mean? Was he swearing or
I don't know. I have my
earmuffs on?
I have my what is it? Back in middle school, they're like, "Oh, put your thinking caps on." What was it when they wanted you not to hear
Earmuffs.
explicit? Was it earmuffs? Yeah, I have my earmuffs on. I hear everything but explicit contest. But you said you're looking forward to watching Tony come April.
Come by this April.
So yeah, awesome. I did want to ask him though if there was a time he ever stopped being interested in WWE, because the 2008 through 2011, some of the most grueling years. There was so much other wrestling content. Like TNA was at its top of the peak. So I was wondering, like, hey, have you ever tried switching to that and like watching something really freaking awesome? Because like WWE at one point it was just like Sheamus, Orton, Christian.
You don't like that?
Here's the thing: there's no purpose. And if I know Tony the way I think I know him, he's someone that likes some story. He's someone who's very creative, someone that has this great mind for art. And that's what wrestling is. It's an art. It's not just a sport. So when you're just having wrestling matches, physical matches, not even that great matches, let's say, like if it's Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, I mean, you don't necessarily need the story behind it. You could just sit there and enjoy the match. But if it's Sheamus, Orton just kind of clotheslining each other, backdropping each other, there's nothing exciting going on in the match. You need that type of art. You need some kind of story, some kind of theater to it. And
yeah,
from like 08 to 11, I felt like everything just went down the tube. So that was something I would have to wait to ask him till next time.
Yeah, I've got a couple other questions too, but yeah, there's definitely plenty of things. I wanted to ask him some other things about. This is my big question that I never got to was. Did he have like a certain like idea of writing himself in as a character? Like, what would he be like? Would he be like a heel manager? Would he be like Eric Bischoff type GM? Could he envision himself as
That's
that?
a good one.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to make this like a Tony Hinchcliffe like special.
Yeah,
and like this is part 1. Maybe we could do it like once every month or so, or whenever he has time, and we can make it like stack card.
Featuring Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, featuring Tony Hinchcliffe. There you go.
Yeah.
We can name this like a special So yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it would be cool. Maybe we'll reach out to him come like WrestleMania season, and since like that WrestleMania is in early April, and he'll be in town. So
Cool.
Never know.
You guys' thoughts on that? Wonder if he's going to Dallas. Well, no, he'll be here. WrestleMania weekend,
he'll be
right?
here. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Obviously, Joe Rogan is trying to be as far away from Dallas.
WrestleMania, yeah. He wants to stay away from WrestleMania.
All right.
Oh, cool. Well, he could come to Stackcard Studios right here in Boston and watch it with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we loved it when Triple H eliminated Reigns.
Oh, yeah.
Last night was a great Rumble. Just happy Reigns didn't overcome the odds. And now, if I'm not mistaken, it's past 8. So Triple H is probably out there giving his championship promo, which I'd expect nothing less. And, by the time we take everything down, it might be like 9:30, 10. Triple H will still be out there giving his promo. He'll probably be out there for another 2.5 hours. So he's
probably gonna have the very first segment, last segment, maybe one around 9:00, 9:30. It'll who knows? It might just be one long segment.
I love when Triple H is champion because, like, that's all it was in 02 and 03. Like, he'd come out there with a big bandage on his forehead, looks like a friggin' piece of notebook paper, stapled to his head. He'd come out, Ric Flair's, like, going nuts in the background, Batista's standing there looking like he's got to take a dump or something, and Randy Orton's just checking out all the female fans. Who can blame him? But, yeah, and Triple H would just go on and on and on and on.
Right.
I mean, I love it, though.
Sounds good to me, then. I think we should probably catch some Rumble. We'll have some further opinions on Raw, SmackDown, more thoughts on the Rumble come this Friday.
On the Stack Card 30.
30.
Stack Card 30. Maybe not round 30. Yeah. I don't know. We'll come to a creative decision.
Triple X. Stack Card XXX. Oof.
There may or might not be adult film stars coming in to do interviews with us.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We don't do that. I mean, this was just kind of a risky show since it's the first time we have had explicit language. But hey,
really?
Look. Well, sometimes it's like a finishing move for us,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like
it's like a fatality in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Like sometimes like, shit! But
right.
You can only use one per episode.
Like McFoley using the F-bomb, right? He's got, it's like the RKO.
Yeah, he just waits till the end.
All right. That's it.
Tuna.
Boom.
I mean, tuna. Tuna.
All right. We love you very much. Thanks for listening.
I don't like walking around the table. I'll shut this off because then the fans can see us. Goodbye.